Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to No Rules Art. And I'm Crafty Sue. And you see my face a lot. I do lots of different things, and this is something new. Morning, you gotta get dressed. You gotta make you look sharp. You don't want to look like a slob or like you throw things together that don't match, right? Art's the same kind of thing, except you make up the rules yourself. Yeah, you'll hear people say, well, method painters. You'll find that. And I tried that stuff. I tried to do that technique. That's because I'm left-handed, but it felt like it. Only rules you need to know is there are no rules, but you do need to have certain supplies. I have this cute little thing here. And it's one of those little yard, what do you call it? Figurines. But she's like almost tall. So you'd think it would take a lot of paint to make this look lifelike. Not really, because you're only going to do one layer. Since it's going to be outside, then you do a coating, clear coat on the outside of it, and that protects it. Protection is best. But we're just going to get started with bones. Supplies. You don't need to have that. You can use a paper plate. You can use, if you use a paper plate, you'll go through paper plates like crazy. But if that's what you want to use them. Especially this coated. You don't need one of these. You can talk about cleaning your brushes. Well, first you got to know what kind of brush you need to use. You can use whatever brush you want. That they try to tell you that, and that's why there's so many go in the store, in the craft stores, and there's so many paintbrushes and you don't know which ones to pick. I'll tell you my favorites, and I'll tell you how they work. So for doing this little gem right here, this is no different than a regular 3-inch paintbrush you find in the Walmart or any big box store to, paint your bedroom. The handle's a little skinnier, but this is a craft. I have certain ones that I like for certain types of paint. The yard art, they call this yard art paint, is acrylic because it is water-based, water-soluble, and colored water. It won't stick, and it'll fade in the sunlight really easily. So even if you did put the extra coating of acrylic or what, except watercolor. Well, I don't like to use them for watercolor. For watercolor, because it's very liquidy and it's one of those things where it's tricky to use some of the techniques for it. Paintbrushes kind of look like this. You have the brown bristles. Like it looks like horsehair. Well, they originally were made with horsehair. Brushes that I go for something like this are the ones that aren't expensive because if I tear them up, it's no big deal. I just want it to look cute. And the other favorites that I have, if I'm going to do intricate work, is there are these acrylic handled paintbrushes that have a little gripper on them. Do you know how many times I used to drop these wooden ones in my hands? Like, hold up, whoop. Yeah, that's no fun because then you end up with you get paint on yourself, on the floor, on something it shouldn't get onto. So that's you want to be careful of. After the paintbrush, paint. Don't worry about specifically do it for them. I mean, I've done it, and it was a good experience. I've heard too many horror stories. People get demanding on what they want you to paint for them. But you want to have some very basic statements. You want a drop cloth. Think of painting your room. As you're painting, especially if you're painting it indoors. You're going to have to paint fast with acrylic because sunlight and warmth there, it will dry it like that. Because it's a water-based paint, it dries. Oil paints do not. To put your clean brush in and one to clean the brush. That's your dirty water. I had already dirtied it earlier because I started down the bottom. So knowing that you have clean water, you've got a dirty water container, then you need to have something to dry the brush off. You swish it around and you get all that paint out of there and you kind of squeegee it across the top of the jar. And I found an old towel in my closet. Now, there are some debates about how you clean your brush in between by using the two watercolors together. And a lot of people say, well, why don't you use your paintbrush? Why don't you use a palette knife? I go, because my paintbrush will get dirty and so will the palette knife. And this way I can keep them as clean as possible in between. I'm not familiar with what is considered, they call complementary colors. Get yourself a little color wheel. It's a little round disc thing like that. I don't know where mine's at. I go by memory. And it'll show you on the wheel, you'll have red on one side and directly opposite is going to be green. You'll have yellow at the top and you'll have purple at the bottom. Those are complementary colors. Whatever is across from it, directly across, that's two colors you can put right next to each other and it works. Kind of do too. Except I didn't know what kind of makeup a green-eyed person wears. I'd always put the wrong color on. What are the 70s? What do they call it? The little gizmo that you put your paint on? That's called a palette. This is another kind. This looks like the kind of like the artists used to use it, but it was flat because they were doing oil and they would scrape the oil, mix them up. You don't do that in this case, and you don't need to add water to the acrylic unless you want to make it a thin layer. It's all. Hey, the rules are yours. I'm not making. What you end up with, you're either going to be happy with or you're not. But it's all subjective. That's what people don't understand about artists or art, is that just because 4 people said they don't like it doesn't mean it's not art. It's a form of expression. It's an expressive part of you. So I describe it for myself as this way. I love certain colors and I love putting them together and I love being able to just kind of look at it. That's where your abstracts come from. People who just love color. But I like real things. So I like this little girl. She used to have a whole family that I had already painted, put out in the yard. She was the only one that didn't make it out. Almost ended up in our garage. 100-pound concrete elephant. She hit him and he went about 50 feet. That's how fast she came in the driveway. And if she'd hit the garage wall, the garage would have collapsed, but that didn't happen, thank God. She missed us by that much, about 3 inches. So this little girl, I have decided, is going to be Megan. And she's going to be my little Irish girl, because I'm a big Irish old girl. And this I'm going to have a green room. It's going to be a very light, calm green. And she's going to be an accent piece in here. I'm not going to put her outside. So now we've covered supplies as where you're going to mix the paint on anything you want. You know the dishes that you have? Yeah, you can use those. You can use all kinds of things. The containers that you get your lunch meat in. Egg crates, perfect. Because you got 12 holes or 18, depending on how many eggs you're getting. And you put a lid in each one, and it's non-porous. It's not going to go, and you can mix it right in there. That's one of the cheapest ones. So when your eggs are empty, as long as it's one of those polystyrene or whatever they call that man-made plastic stuff, and it has all the little. It's kind of like this. It has little balls in it, only they're deeper. So if you were doing watercolor, that would be a perfect tool to do watercolor because you can put water one of them and you can like really go to town. We're going to do that on one of these because I care about the brand name. If what you're painting is not going to be in a sunny window, you can use any kind of generic paint you want. The kits, the starter kits, they're like $5.99 at the craft store. And the starter kit, you got 12 color of art because I have 12 colors. And the color wheel says this matches this, but if I put more of this color in that, ooh. But if you want to be real technical, if you're looking for a specific color, so many drops of this, and then you switch them together, and then you get up, you get your lavender, or you get this or that. You mix it with, depends on how deep the lavender is. Now that's interesting. So I decided, she's standing on stones. She's standing on one of those little, walk stones. And I'm going to grab the brown. Don't matter what kind of brown, just standing on brown. As long as it's doing a lot of painting for a long period of time, I would just get a couple of those 12 kits and use it. And you'll be able to figure out as you use your paint how much I don't go and buy any supplies unless there's I have to do it that way. Now, types of brushes before we get to this painting part. straight edge, rounded edge. There's a fan brush, and fan brush is good for on something like this to leave like streaks, so it kind of antique kind of looks like it gives it a fake patina, so to speak. A straight edged brush looks just like this. Just goes straight across. Okay, your room or in your home. The angled brush is so that you can cut into the corners, right? It's great for cutting in under a little tight spot, like where her rocks underneath her. And I started from the bottom because I want the bottom to be dry. Brush, straight cut. A rounded edge brush is like, I thought I brought one up here. You can get sets that come in one of these little holders, and it has the pockets, and you just put all your brushes. This is a fan brush, since I just mentioned it, but it is. Now, I used to know the names of all the different brushes because I'm an amateur. And people go, yeah, but haven't you sold paintings? I go, yeah, but I'm still an amateur. And they're like, well, I thought you were a professional. I said, I don't want to be a professional. Do you know the difference between a professional and an amateur? When you to be a professional, you lose that spark. You lose that raw talent. And you'd be surprised how many people don't know what they're buying. Yeah. I did a painting of the burning bush. That was the name of it. And a lady came up. She was getting it for her mother-in-law. And she said it was a sunflower. That thing didn't look anything like a sunflower, people. No way. So a rounded tip is, I just saw one, I think. Yeah. Yeah. This one is it's like a chiseled rounded end. A true rounded one, and I didn't bring it up. I don't think I brought it up here. Oh, actually, this one is. Now, this is a neat paintbrush. This is for doing Japanese art. It's a Japanese paintbrush. And I thought, oh, someday, some Japanese symbols. Because I did one on my daughter's one that turned out awesome. And these are the paintbrush. I have one of these. It's for fluid movement with a not thick acrylic. And they literally go, it allows your wrist to do this, okay? Because of the length, and the bristles aren't real super hard, just so it's the place. And then you do all kinds of things you can use to get texture. You know, sea sponges are wonderful for doing clouds in your paint, and you go like this. We're going to do that. I'm going to teach you how to do that. It's not Bob Ross. It's free art. No rules about it. And I got to clean that one off. The other thing is when you're cleaning your brush, don't leave it sitting in the water, because leaving your brush sitting inside, just down. It's all nice and clean now. There's no more paint in there that's going to mess up. The reason why you want to clean in between colors is unless you want them to mix. Now, there's sometimes where I don't clean it at all because I'm doing like this crazy. I took an old peanut butter jar, kept it. It was plastic. Glass always works best. Well, plastic's okay. And so I thought, I had my coffee. Oh, that's so good. Fresh ground coffee beans. Now, you have to, that I ever experienced, because I was taught how to look beyond the obvious. How we get dressed up and we go out. We want people to notice us. We want them drawn to us. Well, that's what art's supposed to do. If you ever get an opportunity to go to an art gallery, do yourself a favor. Walk up to a piece of art on the wall and walk up close and look at it, and then step back 3 to 5 feet and then look at it. Watch your reaction when you see things so I can mimic them and learn from them. But you don't get the full studies and this and that to see, because it invokes people to invite. When I do interior decorating on occasion, you want to set a room up so that it like, oh, I can't wait to get in there. I need this, this is really nice. That sort of thing. This room's full of red and green because of Christmas. I don't know if is getting old. but it's still usable. Dilute this brown. I always want to put a brush is bone dry. You want to put some water on the bristles. He was proud of that painting, and he said, "That's very good." He said, "But can I ask you one question?" And I said, "Sure." He said, "Do you think he's really just black and white?" This is what I'm talking about. I'm like, what a crazy question. When you start seeing things at a different angle, you notice there's imperfections, or you notice there's another. Where that color? Why I didn't know that color was in there. When you notice those things, and I know you're watching me, you're like, she's putting that in the dirty water. That's to clean water, clean. He said, "Well, don't you think that when the panda's in a playful mood, he's rolling around in the grass and the dirt and stuff like that?" And I go, "Well, yeah." And then he walked away. And then I started thinking, kid, when you play in the grass and you roll around, you get, horsing around, you get grass stains, you get dirt on your clothes, and the light bulb went off. Just because a Chinese panda is black and white doesn't mean they're stark black and stark white. There's other colors there. You may not be able to see them, from a distance. Close up, they're there. It's your creation. When you're happy with it, it's done. I sometimes will try to overthink myself. Let's see. Another thing that helps with a material like this is get a little bit of water on it, and then take a thick paint. And north, in the springtime, they will grow moss on them, because everyone knows, and they've always told me that. I don't know how true it is, but I've been to some places where they were absolutely right. And I thought I was dumb for not knowing it. But when it comes to color, like for my art, I just mess with the paint. I mean, I don't even worry about whether I'm mixing the right amount of this and that, unless it's something really specific that it requires it. But as you can see, I mean, rocks have all different kinds of colors in them anyway. And so I'm just painting the rocks. And when it comes to skin tone, you can find in a brand of paint that is called patio paint. And this Reeves paint that I'm using. It's just in different packaging, a little bit more volume. And so, they try to sell you their product. But anyway. So then I put that yellow on there, and then of course I go, nope. But it's helping me lighten up some of the brown, changing that brown color to a different brown color too. I don't do it anymore. They have what's called a color card. So these are, padded foam core. And what you can do with a piece of padded foam core, so what you do is you notate in your mind how many drops of this, or how many squirts of, size or whatever. And you give yourself a guide. They have colors together, 3 or 4. This is what comes out. So when you actually mix that, you slap it on there and you let it dry. So now you have a formula for that. You'll have the 3 dots of what was used to make it, and then you'll have the recipe, and you can remake it and recreate it. Now, if you have a color wheel, it's not, from my recollection, it doesn't show you how to mix colors to get a certain color. However, I happen to know one that always stuck with me, and no idea why. But if you run out of brown, you can make your own brown. And if you use a regular, I call it Christmas red, green, or Kelly green, you mix those 3 colors together, you will get brown. So I just put some green. Where's that? No. Oh, that's gouache. Gouache is a water-based paint also, but when it dries, it feels like chalk. It's cool stuff. Let's see. Well, we'll use phthalo blue. Just throw it in this little tray here and show you. So it's going to be an interesting color brown. Off of there. You can't shake them up, but they're in there. Now let's see if you can see. Okay, I'm not doing well. can't figure it out. Once I put the red in there, maybe we'll see it better. But there's that. And I see a red tube. No, that's the wrong one. I got grabbed all the gouache paints, but that's okay. This is what we go. Because I'm going to put a sealer on the outside anyways. So, orange red. No, we don't want orange red. I don't think so. Burnt umber is a type of brown. It's a reddish brown. So I'm going to find that red I just had in my hands a minute ago. By this one. That's burnt sienna. That's a red. Brilliant red. Okay. I got brilliant red. Now brilliant red is like orangey. So this is a strange shade of brown. But red, blue, and green, no matter what shade they are, and it should be consistent across the board when you go to make it on at a second time. So I'm going to take my little bam and just take that. What this did, it made it a deep, deep brown. This is like a burnt umber. Almost. It's almost a black color. To lighten this up, I'm going to show you how dark this is. Look how dark this is. Red, blue, and yellow. Because you can make anything couple of really neat things. I could load a brush up with two colors at the same time to give it a striated effect. Now here's a blank canvas right here, so we can kind of see that in action. Okay, this is what it looks like by itself. There's nothing added to it. It is almost a black brown. It is that dark. So I'm going to take, didn't necessarily want to use that one, but the width of the bristles is good for it. No, I'll use this one. I really wanted one a little bit wider than this, but I'm going to get it wet first. Because when they've been cleaned and dry, they get stiff. And I'm getting there is a burnt sienna color. I'm actually probably going to end up triple loading this. And it's a very light brown. It's almost an orange brown. Reminds me of a camel colored purses. But I have the sienna. And what I'm talking about is instead of you putting the whole thing in there and getting all one color on it, you take kind of sideways and you put a glop, I call it a glop, on there. Then you add the next color. Now, do you see all these crazy colors in here? Look what it does. It brings out a whole new aspect of what is in that brush. So now I've got ready so much pressure to try to, make it solid color because I don't want to do that. Rocks are formed in layers, and that's what I'm trying to mimic. I want these rocks to look so lifelike, like the real thing. And it's not a hard task to do. You just do these different layers of colors, and then take a little bit of water there. And I'm going to swish it around. And the original brown is dark brown. It's almost black brown. And I put one side of the dark brown or the black brown on one in the sections, kind of this way. So that gives you shadows. You can actually go into the grooves between that's the dark brown, that's almost black. And then this is how you get your three-dimensional effect. Wherever these holes that are, divots in the construction of this, that's how you get depth. On canvas, it's a different story. This just makes it easier because it's already got texture, and all you're doing is beefing it up. So I'm going to fix this rock that you're going to need a lot of when you paint anything is white. My suggestion for you is get two of this ones because you'll throw it really fast and not going to dry up on you. If it dries up on you, you're not painting enough. You're leaving it sit there. So if you're doing a project like this and you want to keep the paint a little moisture longer, there's an extender that you can get for acrylic paint. And it's a slow dry blending gel. It's a medium. Looks like Elmer's glue. I don't know if that's what it is, but it looks like it. So you put it in its own little tub, just a little bit. You don't need a lot. About the equivalent of whatever you've got in each of the others. Not all together, just one. And dark brown. So now I've got a blending gel plus these two things. So as I put this on, if I need to like get it to move around, if this was canvas, this would be perfect. It will move around for me until I get the look I'm looking for. So we're going to get a chance to do all of that as long as I hear from y'all, because if you don't let me know that you're actually like seeing this kind of thing, wouldn't give me much incentive to come and teach it. I have kids and adults that are contacting all the time for lessons, and I tell them, I said, my job is to bring out the artist inside, not to teach you my way, but to find out what your particular niche is. Now, if you have something like this, you canvas-wise or otherwise, and it's too dark, I love how I got it's like the clay splashed up onto the white paint. This is, there's a acrylic blending gel, and there's one for watercolor also. And my white, where did it go? I have a feeling I may have dropped it on the way up to the steps. So let me see if I have one in here. I should. I just had one in my hand. Lemon yellow. See, and I don't mind being disorganized with this. It's just like, oh look, I have that color in here. I can use it. Viridian. That's like a teal almost. What a lot of folks will do, and I did in the beginning, was when I got my set of pens, I had a acrylic kind of palette, but it was totally flat, and I put drops of the colors from each of the tube on there, and then I let them harden up, and I put them on the thing. So that Gray does some really cool stuff. I need the white. Ochre. It's a yellow, like that's what you call Dijon mustard. Dijon mustard color. I could have sworn I had one in here. Yellow ochre again. Orange. White. There it is. Okay. So if I want to marbleize this, I can do it a couple different ways. I didn't clean my brush. You know that? Because marble is kind of swirled, smooshed, right? I'm sorry, I just have the white in my hand. It's right in front of my nose. You guys are supposed to tell me when it's in there. That's the big tube of white I'm talking about. So I don't advise doing it this way. I just like, because then you have to clean up. I do it so good that I don't get any brown in there. So I now have this blob of white. Now I can do one of two things. I can directly put it on there, but then I'm going to boom, there's like a big splat of white on there, which I don't want. But what I do want to have is like a green. So I'm going to pick up some of this, of the original. And you see how that's doing that? Like that. That's how you do rocks. If you're going to do like rocks on a seashore, and you want to have that texture or that grain in it, that's what you do. And then you stroke, and then I go to the top, and just, it's kind of like a flick, because you have a flick movement, then it looks more like, ooh, I've seen one of those in the yard. Kind of do. But then I take, and it makes them pop. Can you see how that shows how deep? Some people will go and fill in all the creases of something like this first, and that's okay. because you can't hurt. And as a matter of fact, once you get that part out of it, it's kind of like in stage. Now, the neat thing about doing this, if I wanted it to look like there was a puddle, like it had rained on her, she went walking out to, get her berries or whatever in her little bowl, and then I'm gonna kind of put here. I'm gonna show you how to do puddles, because realism is one of the forms of art. Some artists are realism driven. Others are, when I say everybody's an artist in one way, shape, or form. I did in college drawings, pencil drawings of her favorite. And then, of course, her grandfather, who passed away when she was just a little kid. So she really didn't get to know him. But she did this painting of him from a photograph that she had seen. And it looked lifelike. He had a mole, and it looked like you could just reach out and grab that mole on his face. It was that good. And she said, "Oh, that's just some dabbling I did when I was in college." I said, "That is not dabbling. That is true talent, raw talent." And she just does it. If you've got something going on and you just want to be able to breathe, I call it I can't breathe kind of thing. I cannot deal with my whole spirit. When you get out some paints, okay? And you don't need to get, big stuff. You can get these little 5-inch square canvases. I have these. One day I hope to be still here to show you pastels. Pastels are my go-to. And they're probably going, well, what's pastels? Pastels is colored chalk, basically. You can put my fingers into it. I mean, when you're doing pastels, you draw with it, yes. And some people use a paintbrush to spread it out, whatever. I use my fingers, and my hands get all messy. But when I'm done, I'm so relaxed because I'm like, ooh, I'm so glad I made that extra dark brown because I don't have one like this. And just put it in like all the little craft, a design on them. You can do this to them. Down here, it's hard. So there's a red clay look, because that's where we are. Need a little bit of water because when it seems like it's not flowing good, I'm going to water it up a little bit. And then that lets this come out. Lets it flow down. Of water-based paints that I had to. Since I didn't have all of my acrylics in there, I thought I did. I put some gouache, and that's the one that it feels like chalk when you paint with it by itself. And I'm not bashful about mixing different types of water-based paints. And do what I want. So I do. If it's my piece of art, I'm going to do what I want to do. And I typically do. I'm not hurting anybody. I'm just being creative. So I'm letting the kind of like the red kind of like fall down, the reddish brown, by just breaking the brush this way. Surprise how happy you can be with your own work. I want to get these two done. Move across here just for a second, and then be able to do the water on top and dripping over it. Now this is 3-dimensional art, okay? Because this is a 3-dimensional item. And some people shy away from it. I don't. I just think it's cool that certain things like this can be done with it. And I even play around with I like to use up the colors I've already got out here. So I'll put on one layer, let it dry a little bit. Because all these stones are not going to be exactly the same. Not two stones are the same in real life, so they're not going to be here. But I do like this red clay look for the stones because it's going to go really great with this little redheaded girl. She's going to be a redhead. Redhead, shades of green dress, and big green eyes. Just like that. Now some of these are going to be a darker red clay color because of where they are in position of the sun. On canvas, you have to remember where is your light source coming from. And when you can incorporate that into what you're doing, more of a draw in. It draws people to it. When you can do that and you can invoke that feeling, and you know you have got your niche and you figured it out. And so the ones that are closest here to her underneath, they're going to be dark. I'm still going to see the red. I'm going to still put a little touch of it in there. But as you come forward, that's when you put the lighter colors. Originally. And get on the tips. It's light up here. And where she is. So I'm saying that the sun is directly overhead. Okay. So only this inner circle part is going to be real dark. The rest of it is going to have dark gradiated into light. And that, and if there's any yellow in anything you're doing, that is completely dry. Otherwise, you'll end up with green. And you don't want green water. At least I wouldn't want green water. Who wants to drink green water? So that's why I'm putting a touch of sun on the top. Now the bottoms are going to be dark. The sun is in the. So we've got this red clay stone that's actually dry. And I'm going to show you that. Okay. That's why you want to kind of like give it a couple of little pop spots. Well, the medium brown, I call it. But now, if I wanted to make it really dark, use black, you cannot lighten it up. Now, that dark brown that's in the creases in here, that can be lightened up very easily because of what it is. See, I can pull it from that crevice across. So now, a little bit of more water. I can pull it out because it's still water-based and have it give that. But I like to put the, so in keeping with the lighting piece, nobody has to see it but you, unless you want to show it off. What I may do with her is occasionally just stick her out on the front porch and let people see her. I've done that before. And a good thing. I'm going to take, now you can mix black with brown, but just a tiny bit. And that's blue. That's the one I just used. Yeah. Since I'm running out of that one brown, and it's getting to the end of its life anyway. Poor thing. And then, don't you squirt out at me. There you go. You can do as well to make a new color and using the black. Go to the dollar store and you find the little, I call them little pill container kind of things, little storage things. And if you've got a tube of paint that's kind of going, you know, if you don't do something, it's going to be like not usable anymore. Get those containers and mix that black with another color. Play around, experiment. That's what I do. It's like, ooh, look what I just made. I just made that. But it's that sort of thing. Now you can't really see, but in this little sculpture, there's deep holes in the construction of it, which really gives it a realistic look about it. Because I think it's very cool. It can actually give it even more, realistically looking. Like you can say, I can put my finger in there. Okay, so that's how you're going to do the bottom part. The part that the sun is not on top of. It looks like, oh, you make it. Okay. I need to fix this little stone because it needs to be dark because it's up under her. I don't know if that's a vegetable bowl or something that she's using, but it's in there. And it doesn't matter that I'm getting her feet. The most fun about this is it's very forgiving. in that respect. Because once it dries on here, you can go and cover it up, and it's not like watercolor where I'm getting it a little dry. Now, a dry brush does one of two things. It allows you to kind of pinpoint where you want to put your paint. The top, and I guess is what I'm aiming at here. When you start running out of paint, it'll start getting a little bit of water, and you can freshen her up again. Freshen up your stones. And that goes there. That's really. I had 9 statues or figures, and he got murdered by this drunk gal. That, like that. Painting on canvas. Get out of your mind that water is blue. Leave it alone. Please, just leave it. Leave it there. We know that we think water is blue, and it's actually not. It's all kinds of colors. So, go color differently. That's the hardest part. The hardest part for me, growing up and wanting to do art. I just like with the panda, that example, same thing. So, this is something you can do. It is, if you want to have blue stones, you make them blue. If you want them all green, make them green. There's a beautiful stone that just happens to be prevalent where I used to live growing up, and it's called serpentine. So I need to get the dark side. Going over to the dark side. It's like that. So I get that covered up there. And I'm going to leave a little splash of yellow. Just a little bit. And this is like so therapeutic. I forget. This is the only thing I really can focus at sometimes. And I had major surgery. Couldn't do anything with my right arm. It was a good thing I'm left-handed. And they're here. I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but they're here. Now, the water. I need to grab your terry cloth rag, okay? And like if you wanted to do tears on her face, you could do this same way. But she's not going to cry. She's happy. She can go into the garden and see there's some flowers. That looks like a bowl that you put flowers in, but it could be picking grapes. And then when you dry your brush out, cleaning it out, you rinse the paint out, you want to go away from the handle, this way. And it'll feel like hard, but it's not. All you have to do is go like this, and it loosens it right back up. As long as it's clean, it will do that. It is white with a little bit of green. And I think, no. And now a little bit. And it also gives it a more translucent kind of look to it. Now, my thing is I have to think what shade of blue is in the water drops. Well, you want to do the sky, and I have to decide which blue I want. Now, I have Prussian blue. It's a very rich blue color. So I would not need a lot of it. And it is a true blue color. It is a dark blue. I'm going to show you how dark this blue is without dumping the white out. It's so cleaned it. To do my, it's got to flow a little bit. And okay. Now I did that. It's going to puddle up here. I can add a lot of white. You want it to be so light, that color. Just a hint. So it's like literally pale. You want it to be, kind of touch it. On there. And this is that hint of that little bit of blue, right? I mean, I'm literally just going pop, 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 like dots. I'm doing like dots. And let's see. It's like, oh, one went down the crevice, down the crease. Like, that's okay. And that's what a puddle will do. It'll go where there is a way to get to trickle down, and it's going to trickle down here too. So I'm going to do like that. I take this is the medium, and I swoosh it on there, and it starts making this like really vague look of like that. And though that's how I use it, is to make it look like something it isn't. Now, that can pat where I have my water pot, where I can do this. This is a natural sponge. It's clean. It just needs to be wet. It's really stiff. And I take that little sponge, that is wet, and this is what you do. You go. So what you're basically doing is almost kind of like airbrushing, where you're removing a lot of what's there, but it's still there. It's that kind of thing. Emulate clearness as much as possible, but just have that little tinge of blue in it. And I love when this turns out this good. I'm going to show you. I'm going to bring it up close so you can see. Now, because now it looks like, because of the medium being that opaque, it gives it almost like a glazed over look. Something you can do. Now, this little guy, he's got to go in the dirty water so the paint doesn't dry in. I want to show you what this ends up being. Looks like a glazed donut. Almost. You see how it's down? It kind of, let me back this light up just a little bit. There, it might be better. You see how it kind of looks blue, and it looks like it's trickled down the rocks. And there's depth, so that's your three-dimensional. And on the top, you can see there is a puddle there. On top. You're thinking, you just put all this stuff on, you took it off. Yeah, I know I did. But I'm weird like that. I like to have it look realistic. I do some realism things and some not so. And yeah, you can do that. It helps it to dry. But I've noticed too, this medium also sometimes we'll leave it like glaze over. And then when you go to seal it with the UV protective spray, it really looks real. That's the base part. This is how you do yard art. This is how you do little figurines, for lack of a better word. To get skin tone, you just got to play with it. This was actually a pink that I started with on her that actually had flesh tone as far as the color was. If you look at your own skin, and if you can look past it out here, like, well, that's just a white person's skin, but there's a lot of, so that's what you figured out. So I would start out like for her, after I clean this, and pull it to the center. Even though that brown is there and that blue, I'm gonna pull it to the center and do like that. Then I'm gonna add things like orange has red and yellow in it. Perfect color. I don't want a bright orange kind of orange, just like a drop right next to it. This is how you find out you can do your chemistry sets up with. Now that would be great for her cheeks. And see, I can fix that. I can take a lot of that paint off. Actually, I can go as far as to take some of the blending gel and get them even lighter. She's got rosy cheeks. And to smooth it out, I would like this. I was like, well, it looks like you got lumpy. You just kind of pat it. Give her like it's blush. And then her face starts shaping up just like that. She's so cute. And lighten it up. See? And you can even use that the darker pink part, because this is now a pink. That's red, orange, and white. I made a pink. is you can touch up a little bit. I say I need a smaller brush to do this, which I'll fix it. But she's not wearing lipstick, so you want to do a natural color paint. See? And she's coming alive now. The ones I had outside, I had a boy and a girl. They were holding hands, holding a basket or something, and they looked so real because I had put their eyes on them. And I think I'm gonna do one eye for her. I think I've got all those craft brushes and not the one I'm looking for. And don't put it in. Yeah, that one's got tight. So the first thing I would want to do is put the white in for the eyes. Oh yeah. Alrighty. It looks like she's looking at you. Yeah. See that? She's looking right at you. Now, did I not? Yes, I did. Let's see. Now, there's different kinds of green eyes. But I'm going to use the emerald green as long as it's not messed up. So we're going to put that on a little separate thing by itself. And it's kind of watery, so I had to squirt a little extra of it out. I'm going to use that in the dress. And then take that little, just put the color on the tip, because this is a small space. And go. And you have to think, okay, where is she looking? Which direction is she looking? She's looking down. She's looking to see what veggie she's going to put. Okay. All right, come on. And then you do the other one. The one of her eyes is open a lot bigger than the other one. It doesn't got some above. That's her eye, the pupil. It's got to be like proportionate, and sometimes that's hard to do. I really needed that little fine brush that I had in my hand. I must have left it behind, but that's okay. I'm going to fix this with the angle brush. And that's blue. Where'd the black go? There's the black. I was telling in the blue. Didn't realize it. Now, another thing you can do, like at the base of this, if I wanted like a little buttercup flowers, just yellow dot kind of looking things. And I actually thought about doing that. Just. She's so cute. I can't stand it. She's adorable. Heart green eyes like me. For a change. Oh no. So being an impressionist artist does not have to be perfect. It has to just invoke the feeling. That's the whole idea between impressionist art. That's how it makes you feel. So then I got and put the white little sparkle in her eye. And I'm going to find that I have this one brush where even though it's squared off tip, it's not real thick. And that's exactly what I need for what I'm going to do. So. I didn't have enough white on there. And my eyes is not so great anymore. So it's a lot of it's like half winging it. I just learned it by playing with it. And so I kind of covered it up. That's okay. I don't want her eyeball looking down, so I can fix that real quick. Quick like a bunny. Okay. She's a cutie. And I'm going to do the eyelashes back for the pupil. because I'm just using the tip to do this little detail work. Normally I would have like 3 or 4 brushes, but for whatever reason they didn't make it up. Come downstairs with me. So yeah, you gotta make sure you don't give her a lazy eye. We call them eye lights. In other words, where the light reflects in the eye. A twinkle in her eye. And I need to find that darn black again. And I actually have a little bit of that green mixed in with the black because it blends in to each other in her eyes anyway. What happened after that is they gave me a bottle of construction blood, like pulling into the construction area. And just like that, a little highlight. That part I do. That was a oops. Sometimes I went from growing up in a T-34 to flying F-16, dog fighting at 18, flying T-38. 10 years after this, I was out. Okay, now she's got her little skylight up. So you're probably going to see my flaws that I can't see. But then again, like I said, art, you don't look at it up close. Step back and without getting rid of the little highlight thing. And then we can put the eyelashes in. There we go. I'll just put one right here. So I actually did go back 2 more times, 2 or 3 more times. Just like that. I can move it. Now, eyelashes. I'm not gonna, all I can do, she's got, see, like little strokes all the way to the side. I'm just gonna, no, not like that. But that mess. That's where I missed my Q-tips. What? Maybe you can see from this way. This eye turned out really, really well. Oh, I know what I need. Fan brush, the little one. See, I think that fell on the floor. Okay. Now, this is not your typical kind of art thing. It's wet. And the paint's made to. Well, I digress. It actually is a wet brush, but I can fix it. But it actually gives depth to her eye. And I'm not going to do anything on the bottom. Make her look like a little cupid doll. Like that. Now to fix those eyelashes up, I would take Q-tips, things of that nature, to clean it up. Now what I'm going to do is take that little skinny brush I have. I'm going to try to clean it up and then fix her little eyeball. Skin anyway, being the little Irish girl that she is. The pink is going to come right up to the bottom of her eye. And then do a little. And find that yellow. Or it's actually an orange yellow. Because the orange yellow and the pink, it gives an illusion of flesh tone. And this is a medium yellow. And you'll see what I'm talking about in just a second. So you go up into the hairline, just like this. We're going to be using 810 C2. 810 were stationed at a bed and then she's starting to look really alive. Don't you think? I'm going to do that because I don't need to. So you want to, if you're doing a lot of, kind of little people things, you want to keep tabs on your recipe for your flesh tone. because hers is a little bit on the tanning salon side. But she's looking gorgeous compared to what she was before. And then up above here, because she's only got a little bit of rosy on the cheeks. She's so pretty now. Looking like a movie star. And I can come in and do her little chin. She looks like me. It's kind of creepy, but it's very neat. And this is how you kind of tone it down some. Put a little bit more white in there. And you pull some of that pink out again. Because really it's kind of like a glow on the skin. And you can have because the sun hitting her on top of the head, she could have a glow all over her top of her face. And that would be very, very, very good. She's such a sweetheart. With that was kind of look. And I just made her lips very pale as pink to give that, make sure it didn't look like she's wearing lipstick because she's too young. Makes me feel like I'm painting a portrait, but I'm really not. I'm just painting this little girl's face on this statue. And I'm get her neck. I'll turn around so that I can get this detail on here. All right, now like it should be. Yeah, little Irish girls, we're pale skinned anyway, aren't we? We really are. We can't help it. Well, we burn. Give a little glow from the sun shining down on her. Just like this. This sweet baby girl. I'm sorry all your brothers and sisters got murdered, but hey, it had nothing to do with it. Now the nostrils there, a little bit darker. So, play with that version of it. So it's going to be like a salmon color almost. It's just to kind of like give a depth to her face, you know. Now fix her upper lip.
More better than I would have expected. Come on, you slow ass thing. Use your face and you get anywhere.
A little bit more white. Because when your nose is start getting,
Emerging. Missiles. It's just slow. Having gone back.
there we go.
Oh, sweet the wings back.
Sweet baby girl.
How many are left?
I'll lighten up under her eyes. Give her some concealer. You know, I have no get raccoony eyes. Oh,
I'm 2 miles behind, but I'm careful.
she keeps flying away from me. I'm pushing.
I'd say there's probably 35. If I need you to count 35.
There comes the white in the eye over here. No bloodshot eyes. We're not going to have those.
Come on. Nothing I can do. I can't catch them up. They're going fast enough. I can't even catch low two frigging corners up. Come on. I can't find the missile. It's blocking the sun. Oh, damn it. The goons are stuck it down. Come on. 15, 16 miles, guys.
Yeah, she doesn't have any dark. Right or wrong. Just you hold on to it because you'll slide around. Oh, you gotta kind of fiddle with the color a little bit, not a whole lot. I'm going to try to fix the non-existence of that green. Now,
I found that being at the bottom of the paper.
we're going to cover that little white spot for a second so we can fix it. So everybody can see. She actually does have green eyes. Now you can actually see.
Two more down.
It's not a bad way. And we'll put the pupil back in here.
And a weak spot, they can't fire apart.
Oh my gosh, this is made up.
Drop them down.
This is where I needed my Q-tips. I have some somewhere.
Now.
I had one somewhere. Oh, there it is. These are great because they come in real handy for stuff like this.
Man, one of these ones
Clean it up.
I floated around
Take off that
here.
extra.
Scratch it, well, where are my boys? Where am I getting you? I hit my titanium bathtub. Aha! Screw you.
There we go. Now using the Q-tip, flesh color. So
Right, all that front one's dead.
I take the Q-tip
Just that front one is
and I'll
lower
dip
above.
it in the white. And it's got a smaller end and
Yes,
it's kind
boiler
of
in.
fuzzy.
Now let's do it. Bring it up one more.
And just tap where you want that highlight to be, where the sun shines. That. Then I would go back in there with where's that chisel brush?
I think that's it. No, the bombs are out.
Well, that's not that one. Oh, there it is. Is outline her face under her eyes with the flesh color. Get it in the line if possible. A stiff brown point like this to actually, I mean, literally just go like this, roll it, and come up to the inside of the eye. To outline the pupil. Once I can get the inside of this thing done, it's going to be all kind of gravy. But I don't have I call it a micro liner brush, but I left it downstairs. I'm regretting doing that. Okay. Getting kind of creepy because he's like turning into a real person. And I'm going to take this portion of the flesh color and fix that.
How well do we do that? Less than a third, between a quarter and a third are left, and this sector that's done their job was the non-industry.
Something about those brushes is like, eh.
The S85 tails and the Typhoon tails. Maybe there's a friendly fire. These just go in. It's really, really hard to do the intercept. It's horrendously slow. Horrendously slow.
Because it typically is in the corner of the eye. Okay. I want to see if I can, oh goodness. If I can fix that right there. There we got some flesh tone. It's kind of pinkish, but that's what we have is pinkish skin. And there. Almost got it there. Now you can see your eyelid. Just let me brushing it across there. Eyelid pops up. That's all I got there too.
Crazy cat.
Yeah.
A little Hummer.
Uh-huh.
And India has never won an Olympic gold medal.
I don't think I've ever remembered them.
So these people were saying
From a candle that fell on the
Okay.
floor, so I patched it, and I've got because of the laminate top, that is going to right off.
on the Olympic channel
Mm-hmm.
on YouTube, and they talked about and showed what Shaun White went through
Mm-hmm.
from the time he was a kid, 8 or 9 years old, starting board.
Oh wow.
And they had both him and Stephen Hawke, who was a professional skateboarder,
Mm-hmm.
talked to him about doing his thing.
Mm-hmm.
Shaun White.
Of course.
His nickname in Italiano, which in English means the flying tomato.
Oh gosh, yeah, the
His
red hair. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mr. Carrot Top.
So he said one of the best things that he did after the Olympics was go into business, his own clothing line.
Mm-hmm.
He's a half owner of Mammoth Mountain. And one of the things he really liked to blow off steam at the Olympics was he was in a band.
Mm-hmm.
Shaun White net worth. He was worth $60 million.
Goodness.
And he has taken 20 patients snowboarding or skateboarding with him from the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Oh wow, that's wonderful. Mm-hmm.
That he took out snowboarding,
Mm-hmm.
was from San Diego, and had the same surgeon that performed open heart surgery both on him and the person from the Make-A-Wish.
Oh wow.
Had the same. They pulled their shirts up, and they had the same order in the world. He's won 3 gold medals in the Olympics during his career. He also holds the record for the most X Games Olympics gold medals by a snowboarder. I've even played one of the many video games he's released over the years.
Probably.
He was born with a congenital heart defect, which results in him having to undergo 2 open heart surgeries before he was even. Spent a lot of his early snowboarding days as a teenager in small ski resorts based around Ludlow, Vermont, and the San Bernardino Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
This was where White first built the foundation of his snowboarding skills.
Well, I need is something that's got really hard or something.
Shaun White had gained a lot of attention to skateboard. That included attention from the likes of Tony Hawk. He then mentored White because when he was in skateboarding,
Mm-hmm.
Hawk said,
Oh my goodness.
it helped him become a pro league skater. White went on to win various medals in skateboarding, but his main passion took over.
Mm.
Shaun had been sponsored in snowboarding since he was only 6 years old. So far, participated in 4 Winter Olympics as well as Winter X Games. He has 18 medals to his name.
Let's see if I can get this way.
He said that he was totally overwhelmed in Italy
Oh wow.
because he's never been part of a team before.
Oh.
He's always
Been a
skated
loner?
by himself,
Yeah.
a loner. And he was just like, wow, this is really cool. And so when he got up on that podium,
Mm-hmm.
subsequent Olympics after that,
Mm-hmm.
his first run in both those 2 Olympics were so above everybody else, he didn't even have to go on a second run.
Ha!
He could just go right down. Someone said, I'm here.
How funny is that?
So the only Olympics that he did not medal in and did not get on the podium was at Sochi in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Because before that, Vancouver.
Mm. Oh, shit. There you go. What I'll do is be
Hands.
gracious. Oh man, she got loud. All of a sudden.
Before the games, a number of concerns and controversies surfaced and received media attention. Hours before the opening ceremony, Georgian luger Nodar Kumartovsvili was killed during a training run, intensifying questions about the safety of course and prompting organizers.
Damn.
Officials concluded that it was an athlete error rather than a track deficiency. An International Luge Federation called an emergency meeting after the accident, and all the other training runs were canceled for the day. The president of Georgia, Mikhail Saakashvili, thanked the hosts for the way they handled Kumar Batashvili's death, which included a moment of silence in tribute to him at the opening ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
One critic questioned the choice of Cypress Mountain as a venue because of the potential lack of snow due to the 2009-2010 El Nino. Because of this possibility, organizers had a contingency plan to truck in snow from Manning Park about 160 miles to the east of the city. This allowed events to proceed as planned. Political decisions involving cancellation of promised low-income housing and the creation of a community of mixed economic background for post-games use of the athletes' village was criticized.
I got nothing better to do.
Opening ceremonies were stalled while organizers dealt with mechanical problems during the cauldron lighting ceremony. Oh, good grief. Speed skating events were delayed due to breakdowns of the ice resurfacers supplied by Olympia, an official sponsor of the games. Thousands of tickets were voided by organizers when weather conditions made standing room only areas unsafe.
Oh, brother.
Visitors were also upset that, as in past Olympics, medal ceremonies required separate admission, and blocks of VIP tickets were reserved for sponsors and dignitaries were unused at events. Wow.
Jeez.
Other glitches and complaints have included confusion by officials at the start of the February 16th men's and women's. Opposition to the games was expressed by activists and politicians.
Of course. That's what they do.
Many of the public pre-Olympic events held in Vancouver were attended by protesters. What's their problem?
They just let them
On
go.
Saturday, February 13th, as part of a week-long anti-Olympic convergence, protesters' Smith Company has been a symbol of colonial oppression for centuries, as well as the major sponsor of the 2010 Olympics. Well, what a bunch of mamby-pamby babies.
Uh-huh. Sounds like it.
Probably a majority of them live in their parents' basement.
Yeah, millennials.
Some of the issues reflected in the opposition continue the themes identified in the opposition to all Olympic Games, some of which were outlined in anti-Olympics activist and professor of sociology Helen Jefferson Linsky's books Olympic Industry Resistance and Inside the Olympic Industry, which explain a number of different Olympic Games prior to the 2010 Winter Olympics. These events of low-income residents anticipated human trafficking for the forced.
For the butts.
Although the Aboriginal governments of the Squamish, Musqueam, Lilwat, and Tsleil-Waututh, the four host First Nations, on whose traditional territory the games were held, signed a protocol in 2004 in support of the games. There was opposition to the Olympics from some indigenous groups and supporters.
No. Really?
real estate sales to their territory.
Well, don't want to. They don't want to make any money, I guess.
Local Aboriginal people, as well as Canadian Inuit, initially expressed concern over the choice of an Inukshuk as a symbol, that the Inukshuk is a culturally important symbol to them. He said that the Inuit never built Inukshuk with head, legs, and arms. I have seen Inukshuk built more recently, 100 years beyond Inuit, in the Arctic, far from Vancouver.
It's probably a pin or something.
Soviet Union not participate in the Winter Olympics.
Oh, that is not.
According to Wikipedia, following the Russian Revolution of November 1917 and the Russian Civil War, the Soviet Union did not participate in international sporting events on ideological grounds. However, after World War II, dominating the Olympic Games came to be seen by Soviet officials and leaders as a useful method of promoting communism.
They sure propaganda that. He's so cute.
Okay, here's the question. Why is the Soviet Union not in the Olympics? Due to recent doping scandals, Russian athletes were not allowed to take part in the 32nd Summer Games. Instead, there is a team called the Russian Olympic Committee,
I remember that.
performing at Tokyo 2020. Label off the bag, taped it to the container. So this way, I know what to buy next time, I'm guessing.
Gotcha.
With the other data in.
He's a mess. What the hell did I do that? Wow, that looks like a really good flesh color. It really does. Just needs a little bit of it's a little dark. A little blending medium in there. Let me get him.
Little Howard, 94, Dave.
Oh, his daughter?
He went around and he wanted to participate in the Olympics.
Ah!
So he asked this one woman, and she just threw her hand down. Then he spoke to Christy Yamaguchi,
Ah!
who won the silver medal in the previous Olympics. No, sorry.
Ah! That's funny. Alright, yeah.
Haven't seen spots.
I haven't seen her, and I'm getting kind of concerned, but I guess I shouldn't.
I'll brush my teeth.
I'm going to finish her little face. It's almost done. It's just kind of tough indoors, so. Geez, this kind of little smoky eye thing going on. She's too young to have a smoky eye. And I need the red. She's looking a little too. What do you call that color? Jaundice. Look a little too yellow. If I can get this skin just right. And the white, and the red, and the pink. And I think that's about where we're at right there. They don't need a lot of red. Still gonna have a little pinkish glow to it. It's not as pronounced, but because this gray material is really kind of, I get a visitor. Those are my other rouge on the cheeks. Give her back that rosy look. It brings her face up just like that, and like this, and like, where it's like really, really yellow looking. I tan that out, so I grabbed some of the brown that was in the bottom here, and using that to basically get it back to a more, because flesh has white and tan in it, which is a light brown of sorts. So the great thing with this is you can neaten it up at the end. You don't have to worry about where it is right now. And it also keeps it from drying too fast as I'm working with it. And I had to tilt her back because I couldn't see where I was at with the placement of the color. She's got this little like inset eye thing going on. This one eye that's kind of on the dark side. It just needs a little white corner tucked in to it. So now they can have more than one little twinkle in the eye. Doesn't have to be just on one side. I've seen on both sides. When you do some photography like I used to, you pick up on that. You can actually kind of bring her up close in just one lickety split second. I gotta find the color around there so that it doesn't. So I'm gonna use the liner brush. The liner brush, it literally just does lines, little skinny lines. And teensy bit. Their eyes start looking lifelike. That's the scary part. That's the good part. I gotta clean that off. Because it's really got a reflection of your skin tone on it, which is perfectly fine. But without the liner, it's kind of hard to make the eye like pop. I can kind of fill in the anytime. Just use the point of the chiseled end brush. Remember what I told you or said about to see the green. I want to see the pupil and the little sparkle spot, twinkle spot, as some people call it. And when I get to there, I know we're doing good. One eye did turn out was not looking so good, it's looking real good now. But this over here needs a little bit of fluidity. So you can't detail. That's when you add the water to make it more distinct. And I just had to do that just now. Just add that. So we need some fluid green here. Not sticky green, not clumpy green, fluid. This one doesn't look like she's got black dilated at all. And so she gets this hint of green. Just kind of draws it to her. It loads with paint really well. And I try to give it as much of a three-dimensional feel as possible. So we'll see in a second. Yeah, that looks pretty dang good. Considering. I feel like I gotta do the eyelashes. Just thought of it. Bamboo skewers that I broke in thirds. I'm gonna use those. Yeah. I'm gonna do this in just one split second. I just got the idea. Pop in my head. Oh. Yeah, she's got a little bit more pink added to her face. It's really a yellowish color she's got. I don't want her looking like she's got liver problems. Rosy cheeks. Miss Rosy cheeks. That's so much better. There you go, learn by the pinky color. Mixed in there. Now she doesn't look so bad. It's pretty. Very pretty. Ow. Get ready, sweetheart. You're going to have eyebrows and eyelashes. Almost forgot about her eyebrows. Yeah. Almost up the eyebrows. Yeah, almost there. But I didn't. Nothing worse than having a face look like it's orange. It's one I wish I had a bottle of flush. This is one of those really long projects. Now the eyebrows, lashes, and exactly how the most, and she's going to be a redhead actually. Eyelashes, eyebrows, you can like barely see them. Got sisters right here, and they don't. You can't see their eyelashes. I have to draw them on. And my grandmother, same thing. Any female redhead in the family had to really work at eyebrows. There's this rough edge where it was like broken. Gave me the idea for on paper first. The effect of eyelashes. And I'm gonna flip the back and do like this. I'm just gonna punch it on there. Well, dark on it. Can't get that eyeball. That eye actually looks normal. It's just supposed to give the illusion that there's eyelashes. And that one did pretty well on that one. I'm not going to do it on the lower lid, so I'm scared it'll mess it up. It'll make her have black eye look. If I go like that, and I give the eyebrows with the paintbrush I had just a second ago. Which is blue and green. That's funny. and the reddish. And do the eyebrows. This one I really should have the liner brush. There's a brow bone, and I'm just following it. And then because they're so fair skinned, I'm gonna make those eyebrows just kind of sort of almost disappear. And I'm gonna do that. Some of the medium and some of that fleshy kind of color. That's how we're gonna do it. I'm gonna have them kind of fade into the sunset. Well, that didn't help because it got moving. There's some white. You know, the one they did before kind of creeped some of our neighbors out. Like, they look awful real. And well, that's the whole point. That's what you try to do. And they're making faces like that. Like, you want to look kind of real. And I just got to do the arms and legs anyway. So, well, this is a long process, and I do apologize for the interruption. But this is just to show a long process project and how you start. I start at the bottom, you start at the top, whatever you like to do, because it's your expression of art, your thing. And the length, let me know if there's anything that you in particular would like to see. See that? That's an Irish girl skin right there. And the eyes are shaping up, so you can see, kind of like the eyes. I'll give you some of the wrap up stuff. And hey, this is something new, and I can't believe I've been doing this for two hours. So, should I do a puddle? Something different. Next thing that I'm going to show is on the canvas. Play with some watercolor, maybe. You can share the video. Well, by the time I get this edited down, it'll be in pieces. And hey, give me a thumbs up for at least trying, right? And share it. And then please subscribe. And this is art with no rules. Okay, we are ready to roll. And yes, we got to cut some stuff.